Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're going over the official Madden 21 Superstar players, not to be confused with the X Factors. I went over those a few days ago. Those are the top 50 players in the game. Have that link below. Now, these are the regular Superstar players. And if you thought some players got snubbed from X Factor, just wait until you see who got snubbed from the Superstar list and has no abilities. You're going to be surprised. We'll go over that at the end of the video, but for now, we're just going to go over everybody that actually made the cut, right? Madden School put the info out as always. They're always on top of the leaks and everything like that, so shout out to Madden School once again. If you're new to the channel, however, and you're a lurker, look, I'm going to need you to go ahead and subscribe. Why? Because you want to be up to date on all the latest Madden news, especially the gameplay that's coming any day now. It's coming very soon. I promise you guys it's coming, and you want to be up to date and you want to catch it when it goes live. So make sure to subscribe, turn on the notifications, and that way you're good to go. You won't miss anything. Shout out to the Noti gang down in the comments. All the inspirational comments. I appreciate you guys. So let's get into it. So we're going to go over the quarterbacks first. Now, I'm not going to cover all of the abilities simply because there's just way too many. This video will be 30 minutes long, and who really has time for that? I don't have time for that. I know you guys don't have time for that. So I will have a link in the description where you can go and you can read every single ability and who has them. In this video, I'm just going to go over the players that actually made the cut. All right. So I just don't want you guys to waste the whole day watching a video. So the quarterbacks, we have Deshaun Watson, Matt Ryan, Carson Wentz, Dak Prescott, and Kyler Murray. Now, what's interesting here is obviously Watson, Murray, and Matt Ryan, they had superstar abilities last year. A lot of people think Watson should have been an X Factor. I don't really disagree with that. But we have the two new guys, Carson Wentz, and I'm honestly a little surprised that they gave it to Dak Prescott. But seeing as those guys are the same overall rating, it does make sense. They're finally giving those guys some love. Those are your superstar quarterback players. Next, we have running backs. We have Joe Mixon, Alvin Kamara, Leonard Fournette, Josh Jacobs, and here's the surprise. We have Kyle Juszczyk. Now, Kyle Juszczyk is a fullback. They don't have any specific fullback abilities, but I'm actually glad to see them give him that recognition. He's such a beast of a fullback, not only in the blocking game, but in the passing game. This guy makes a lot of plays, and I'm glad that they actually have shown him some love and given him some of these running back abilities. Now, we saw Mixon last year, I believe, got abilities at the end of the year. Kamara was an X Factor. He's been downgraded to a regular superstar. Fournette got abilities last year. So the new guy, I believe, is Josh Jacobs. I don't think Josh Jacobs had an ability last year, but he might have. Correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe he did get it at the end of the year. But Kyle Juszczyk, for sure, a new guy with abilities. Now let's talk about the wide receivers. So we've got Odell Beckham, Courtland Sutton, Julian Edelman, DJ Moore, Allen Robinson, T.Y. Hilton, Cooper Kupp, Kenny Golladay, and Chris Godwin. Now, Odell probably should still be an X Factor. Obviously, a little bit of a down year, but Odell is still one of the best wide receivers in the league. I don't care what anybody says. The talent that he has is just, it's different, right? Baker Mayfield was awful last year. Not just Baker, not all on him, but the coaching and the play calling, awful. Really kind of holds Odell back. I think he should still be an X Factor, but that's just me. We got Courtland Sutton, who obviously, you know, him and Edelman and DJ Moore, a lot of these guys had these abilities last year. I don't think any of these guys are new. Maybe Allen Robinson is new, but I know like even Chris Godwin, Kenny Golladay, Cooper Kupp, like these guys got abilities and an update towards the end of the year. So I think Allen Robinson may be the only person that's new, but he might have also got it last year as well in an update. I'm just not 100% sure. Now, for the tight end superstars, we have two guys. We have Zach Ertz, and we have Rob Gronkowski making his return. A lot of people feel like Ertz should still be an X Factor. I don't really disagree. I think Ertz is still a top 3 tight end in the league, but they've removed his X Factor, and now he is just a superstar. Up next, we have the offensive linemen. Now, as many of you know, or maybe you don't know, offensive linemen are not X Factors. They don't have X Factor abilities. It would kind of be hard to give O-linemen X Factors, I guess you could say. It's like one of those positions it's hard to give them like that X Factor zone ability. But the regular abilities are what matter more than the zone abilities anyway, so it really doesn't matter. But there's a ton of offensive linemen who have abilities, starting with Mitchell Schwartz, going on to Tyron Smith, David Bakhtiari, Teron Armstead, David DeCastro, Trent Williams, Ryan Ramczyk, Zach Martin, Jason Kelsey, Brandon Brooks, Trent Brown, Brandon Sheriff, Quentin Nelson, Lane Johnson, Andrew Whitworth, Ronnie Stanley, and Rodney Hunter. So a plethora of tackles, guards, and centers there, all with different blocking abilities, whether it be pass blocking or run blocking. Again, link is in the description if you want to look at all the individual abilities that all these players have. It's going to take you some time to look through all of it, though, because there's tons of them. Next up, we're going to talk about the D-line / pass rushers. So there's tons of pass rushing X factors, but there's even another slew of regular superstars, and those guys are Eric Armstead, DeForest Buckner, Shaquille Barrett, Josh Allen, Cameron Hayward, Grady Jarrett, Kenny Clark, Zadarius Smith, Geno Atkins, and Ryan Kerrigan. Now, I think a lot of these guys got superstar abilities in an update last year. I don't know if any of these guys are new. Maybe Grady Jarrett might be. I'm not 100% sure, but I think all these other guys either had these abilities last year or got them in an update. Zadarius Smith was a guy a lot of people thought should be an X factor. He did have a really good year, so I don't actually disagree with that. A lot of people also thought Shaquille Barrett should be an X factor because he did lead the league in sacks, which they got a point there, but those are your superstar pass rushers. Next, we're going to talk linebackers. These are off-ball linebackers, meaning guys that don't rush the passer, like that's not their primary role. We have 3 guys here. We have Eric Kendricks, Levante David, and Fred Warner. Now, I already know one guy you're talking about that he's not an X factor and he's not a superstar player, and it's kind of mind-boggling. We'll get to that at the end of the video. Don't worry, I'm gonna discuss. Next up, we have defensive backs. We have Chris Harris Jr., Marlon Humphrey, Darius Slay, Byron Jones, Micah Hyde, Justin Simmons, Buda Baker, Kevin Byard, and Minkah Fitzpatrick. Now, there's off the bat some guys here that probably should be X factors. You talk about maybe Chris Harris. I know a lot of people thought Minkah Fitzpatrick should be one, but at least he's getting some love as a superstar. Marlon Humphrey, Darius Slay, these are guys that obviously have cases to be X factor players as well. Next up, we have kickers. Kickers have abilities this year, yes. Now, they had them in Ultimate Team last year, but they weren't in regular game. Now they've brought them to the regular game. We have Justin Tucker and Josh Lambo, and then at punter, we have Johnny Heckler. Those are your superstar kickers. And also, we have return man abilities and superstar players. Again, this was an Ultimate Team last year, but they've now brought it to regs. The 2 return men who have abilities are Cordell Patterson and Andre Roberts. So we have 50 X Factor players, which is the standard. It never goes over 50, and we have an additional 67 superstars. So it seems like they're just throwing that superstar at almost everybody, but yet there are some big snubs on the list. Now let's start on offense. Aaron Jones. Why is Aaron Jones not a superstar? And this is what's weird to me, because the ratings say that Aaron Jones is a stud. He's the 7th highest rated linebacker in the game. He's 90 overall, meaning he's in that like super elite territory. Once you get into the 90 overall, that's like the elite of the elite, right? 7th highest rated running back. So you're telling me by the ratings that this guy is special, yet there's no ability that suits him. He's not a superstar player. That doesn't add up to me, especially when there's multiple players rated below him that have superstar abilities. Now, I don't think being rated low means you shouldn't have a superstar ability. Take Kyler Murray, for instance. He's rated 77 overall, which I think is definitely too low, but let's just say it wasn't too low. He should still have the escape artist ability, which he does, because it is a special ability that he possesses that not many quarterbacks have at the level that he has in terms of being able to get away from defenders and run for yards. So I don't think overall rating means that you shouldn't have abilities, but I do think if you're rated among the elite and everybody else in that elite range has abilities, it kind of feels weird that a guy like Aaron Jones doesn't have any. Moving on, that's really the only running back I feel like. I thought the running backs and quarterbacks were, for the most part, pretty spot on. Wide receivers, I think there's 2 guys you can make a case for. AJ Green, however, I understand why he doesn't have anything. He hasn't really played in the last year and a half, plus getting older. We don't know if he's even going to be the same guy when he actually is back on the field this year. So to kind of hold him back, I don't think is the biggest deal in the world. But I would also say Tyler Lockett, because he's rated up there at an 88 overall with a lot of the elite receivers. And there's a number of guys rated below him that have ability. So it kind of feels weird that Tyler Lockett doesn't have any. Moving on to the tight ends, I think there's 2 guys that really stand out, Darren Waller and Mark Andrews. 2 guys I thought were rated a little bit too low, but you can't tell me those guys aren't special, right? You just can't tell me that they're not. I feel like they deserved a little something in there, but it seems like for tight ends, they only did 4 guys, so they didn't really throw it out to a lot of tight ends, but those 2 guys have been really special as of late. I think they could have deserved that superstar nod. Now let's go to defense. Now, the biggest name right off the bat is Darius Leonard. I don't understand what it is with Darius Leonard, but he is so underrated in Madden. Now, let me say this, because I do believe, and this is just my opinion, and I know I'm not the only one that thinks this, I've seen a lot of other people say this as well. I don't think Darius Leonard is quite as good as a lot of people hype him up to be. He's very good. He's very, very good, right? He makes the all-pro team, but he's not the best coverage guy, but that's okay. That's not his role. He's more of like, he's the guy that's going to pursue you. He's not going to let you get extra yards. He's going to wrap you up and tackle you. He's a really good linebacker at doing those things. He's not the best in coverage, and that's okay. Same for Demario Davis. Not the greatest coverage guy, but a first-team all-pro, a guy that is a beast and everything else. Neither of those guys have abilities, which is just crazy to me. Demario Davis is rated the same as Eric Kendricks. He's up there in that elite linebacker range. He's rated ahead of Fred Warner, who has abilities. Now, Fred Warner's special. I really believe Fred Warner's special in coverage. That guy's a monster. He covers almost like a safety at linebacker. It's crazy. But for Demario Davis to be rated with those guys and not have an ability after making first-team All-Pro and just being a flat-out stud the last 2 years just doesn't make sense. And Darius Leonard right there with him. Even though Darius Leonard is rated a little too low, he's rated 85. He should probably be up there in the 88, 89 range as well, I think would make sense. But you got a guy making all-pro teams, Pro Bowls. But Pro Bowl doesn't mean everything these days. But he's obviously a really good player. Both of these guys are good tacklers. You mean to tell me they can't have like some type of secure tackler ability? Just doesn't add up for me. Moving on, Casey Hayward, Patrick Peterson, and Marshawn Lattimore, I think, are three other names, right? Patrick Peterson's one of the best cornerbacks we've ever seen. And although he is not in his prime anymore, still very good. Casey Hayward, this is kind of another Aaron Jones example. He's rated as the 6th highest cornerback. There's 3 cornerbacks underneath him that have abilities. You mean to tell me Casey Hayward is in the elite range, but there's no ability that suits him? That just doesn't make sense. Same for Patrick Peterson. Now, Lattimore, I guess you could argue. As a Saints fan, I'll be the first to tell you, Marshawn Lattimore ain't like a top 5 corner. A lot of Saints fans think he is. He's not. But I think Marshawn Lattimore is in that range of a guy that he is special, probably deserves an ability as well. So those are the guys I think were snubbed. Again, links below if you want to see all the individual abilities. Who do you think was snubbed? Let me know below. And as always, I will see you guys next time.